Hi again. In our first video, we looked at why using no, especially in a firm voice, can be not the best idea if your dog is doing something you don't like. So yes, an interrupter can be helpful to refocus their attention on you, but actually a firm no is not the best thing because they don't understand what we mean by no. In this video, we're going to take a look at alternatives to using no. So let's get on to that now. So as we just said, using no as an interrupter can be useful to refocus their attention on you. But using the word no gives it connotations that you understand that your dog may not, so it's not always helpful. Instead, you might say or use any sort of sharp sound, such as clapping your hands. It will work in the same way, but it doesn't imply the meaning that we give to the word no. Now, greyhounds can be extremely sensitive, so I would be very careful to assess what is suitable to use with your dog to interrupt what they're doing. For some of them, they're so sensitive to eye contact that just staring at them for a few moments may be sufficient to cause them to desist what they're doing. For others, a sharper sound might be needed. I had one dog who would run in panic if I dropped something in the kitchen, so a sharp sound for him would have been really quite frightening. So it really comes down to the dog. And the strength of the sound you need to make as an interruption is going to differ with the circumstances and the level of temptation, and of course the consequences. So use it wisely. If you use it too much, it could lose its impact. A bit like the boy that cried wolf. If it happens too often, people will start to ignore it. And the same happens with your dog. If they get used to you making loud noises, the chances are that they won't see it as an interrupter because it's normal. And you may have to become more and more insistent in what you're doing. An interrupter can serve to attract their attention, meaning they stop what they're doing at the time. And this then gives you the opportunity to then issue a cue for something alternative to do whilst you have their attention. So if you're going to use no, decide what it actually means, what you want it to mean to your dog, and teach them. No to us is a word like any other. It can be trained as a cue for a specific activity, such as no means take your feet off the counter and put them on the floor. But then why not teach a cue that means that, so that they put their feet down, like off? It could be as simple as pointing at the floor when they look at you, so that they know that. And I do find that they respond to gestures much better than they do to words. Training relies on the association of a word, the cue, with an action. And it's easier to learn a positive action, such as put your feet on the floor, rather than a negative, such as take your feet off the counter. So it makes sense to teach an alternative incompatible behaviour. So if we consider that learning something positive can be difficult for our dogs, then understanding a negative can be much harder because it creates this vacuum of, well, what do I do instead? So we want to teach them something else to do, which is incompatible with the thing that we'd rather they didn't do. Instead of just saying no, rather like a child, it invites the question of what shall I do instead? You might not like what they choose. With Jimmy, for example, when he sees squirrels, I get quite a serious reaction. He's leaping around, bouncing around, twiddling on the end of his lead, trying to back out of his harness. I could shout no, that would just frighten him. Instead, I call his name in a happy voice and he comes to me for a treat instead. So it stops him from leaping around at the squirrels and he's doing something more acceptable. If I use that harsh tone, he could get quite frightened of me because he is an anxious dog. And it might stop him bouncing at the squirrels, but what is it doing to his overall mental state? And what is it doing to our relationship? So that happy voice encourages a good relationship, and I can reward him for responding positively. And you can practice this cue before you need it instead of reacting in the moment. So you might talk about getting off instead of staying on. If the dog is on the sofa and you want them off, yes, you could order them off. But how about instead you ask them to go to their bed, which is a positive action instead of a negative one? They may respond better to that. So have a think about that. What alternatives can you use for your dog in the situation? It's really about turning it around and seeing it from the other side. That's all for today. We'll be back again soon with more videos for you. Bye for now.
Look out for new videos every Monday, and why not subscribe so you don't miss out?